Hello and welcome to The Cat and the Parrot. Today we thought we'd talk about, should we ever do a home visit or a doorstep visit? Because obviously COVID means that we shouldn't really be going into family homes at the moment. So the reason that I wanted to talk about this, Anne-Marie, was they're saying that the average attendance for secondary kids or engagement is 47%. So there's 50% students that aren't really engaging into lessons or joining in online lessons. Now that's a big chunk. So a DSL's role suddenly is going to change. And there'll be students that we would be slightly concerned about. Do we do doorstep visits or house visits? Because we're not really worried about it, because obviously if we're really worried about it, we'd pass it on straight away. But we've got a slight nagging, that odd feeling. We're not quite sure about it. So would we do a doorstep visit? If we did, what should we do?
I would say to you, as in if we weren't in COVID and you were in ordinary times, as in pre-COVID, what would you do? Would you do first day callback, which would mean clearly child's not in, they haven't attended, obviously on site, therefore you'd be contacting the family to find out why.
Yeah.
Okay, so there'll be an element in what you're saying now to transfer that into the same. Let the parent know the child's not engaging.
Yeah.
Is the child okay? Is the child up? How are they managing with it? Because what we've learned from the first lockdown, I think, this is my opinion now on the comments I'm getting from colleagues like yourself about children are not engaging now.
Yeah.
They're realising, and TikTok, the lovely TikTok.
Yeah.
There's influencers on TikTok telling children they don't have to go on to learn, meaning, so I sort of saw one the other day in the job that I do. I'm always keeping an eye out for why and what's going on here. And I saw a young person, secondary age child, telling children they don't have to wear a mask, okay?
Right.
And the whole thing's pretend. Then I saw another one potentially saying they can't force us to, blah, blah, blah. We've got rights, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So one could argue, I'm not saying that's why, there's loads of other reasons why, including well-being, mental health, blah, 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 or loads of things. However, I think if we think about all of what I've just said, ordinarily, the parent is responsible for that child until their 18th birthday. So yes, I would definitely go down the route of, obviously, whether it's online learning or the virtual Google Class or Hangout, etc. And then the teacher letting you know the child didn't attend.
Yeah.
And then at what point in that lesson? So have you got something where in the first 10 minutes, so have you got 2 members of staff in this session or one? Fair enough. If it's one, has the teacher, maybe the teacher can set the class an activity to do in breakout rooms or whatever, giving them time in the first 10 minutes to email someone to say, ABC children are not here.
Yeah. Can
you please contact their parents? So having a mechanism where, if you think about step one is they haven't logged on, they're not in this, this classroom, or they have gone online and they haven't completed their work today. Because I also know that even though you're setting work, some children are not doing that work at that time.
No.
And again, it's being clear about expectations from the school to the child and the family, likewise. Because it's a bit of a mixed message at the moment. When I had these calls of panic, I've been like, okay, well, what was the instruction you gave the family and child?
Yeah.
Do you know what makes sense?
Yeah,
so
no,
if I'm rewinding you on that, that's where I'll start. The family, what's expected of both? Homeschool agreement stuff in that scenario. Yeah.
So the first one is obviously to make sure that the agreement, and everyone knows the agreement, but say we've got the agreement in place that we're saying that students should be able to be engaged, and if they're not engaged, whatever time frame, so they know. But if, as I said, if we're missing quite a big chunk, that could mean that a lot of the time, so say, as I said, only half of the children are engaged, that's quite a lot of chasing up and phone calls that you're making home to parents. Have we got time for that? Slightly nervous.
So exactly. So the time being, have you got a mechanism in your system at the moment in schools? So I know lots of schools have got pastoral care teams.
Yeah.
Okay. You've got your office managers and office staff still. Okay.
Yeah.
So whether you're year groups or house sets, whatever you do, I think you've got to be thinking about, rather than giving lots to the safeguarding lead, I would only give the safeguarding lead the top end concerns about existing children. Anything else you'd be treating as ordinarily chasing up on attendance.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
and I think that will filter out a lot for you.
Yeah.
In that, so think about a class group. Think about the TAs, whatever you might normally have, who would know those children, who can actually just jump on call, etc. So I think there is something about the expectations, what you expect now, i.e., are they in the class? Have they done the work? And then giving them a deadline of, you can still be late, but after this time, we will be contacting people. So they'll know.
So then we get to the ones that are safeguarding concerns. So we've contacted them. Maybe we've got hold of parents. Maybe we haven't. Maybe the parents are saying, we can't do anything. They're just not getting out of bed. So the parents are calling out for help.
Okay. Clearly, all right. So they're the ones we're worried about their well-being. So we've got to appreciate there are quite a lot of children. Some are able to express how they're feeling, i.e. families are aware and supporting them. Some are hiding it because maybe the family doesn't recognise stress in that sense, or they have to be seen to be, but they're hurting inside. Okay. So all of those ones there, it's about liaising with the parent and then finding out from the parent, I suppose, how the family are dealing with it. What's it like after hours, i.e. after school? The child generally, are they getting up, or is it just more about work and school? And then once you've got a flavour of it, offer the support, obviously, as in what could you do to support, i.e. you think if I email them or something, what can you do to help the situation? And then if it's one where it's complete blank, then you've got to be thinking of, okay, well, maybe I'm suggesting I pop round. So if you are suggesting maybe a Zoom with the child. So I would opt for the safer version first, the Zoom with the child, see how they respond. And then again, if you're getting declined, then I suppose you could be looking at a home visit. But before you do that, it could be worth going down. So I've had, again, colleagues talked about referrals to education welfare. Even though I know you've relaxed the attendance, I get that. I still have had, I've heard, today's Friday, this week I've heard a few colleagues talk about we've made quite a few referrals to education welfare. So what is their role right now? So I say that to you, what is their role right now during this time? Meaning something rather than nothing. So again, exploring what that would look like, their role in supporting families to get on the learning kind of program. Understand? So there's other things to do before the home visit. And then if it is the point of actually, I think we need to actually be engaging, then as I said, I think before to you, another conversation, thinking about this family home, what do we know about it? So are there dangerous dogs? Where is it? As far as when you go there, who else is going to be in the household? So what's the risk to you? So you've got to think about, you can't just rock up, what is the risk to you? And, it could be worth being in social care. Is this family known to you? We're having difficulties in trying to engage with this child. We're thinking about home visit. What do you think? So maybe get that conversation. If it was me and I'm on duty today or managing that team, we could see if they're known. And if they're not known, then we might give you good advice on what to do. Does that make sense? So,
I like that. Then you could record that, me as a DSL, I could record that I phoned them, the social services, to say I'm going to do this, and hopefully they could give me some tips. So, for example, the police had visited the night before for domestic abuse or something like that. They would know about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Operation Encompass. So we know that most schools have it now. And even though most schools say it's not active, i.e. they're not getting a lot of reports. But it's the whole thing about ensuring that you've spoken to a colleague in the statutory agencies who, like social care, could give you that multi-agency approach in the information sharing. And then you know where you stand, and they might give you tips, as I said. So I know when I do home visits, or used to in that kind of social work frontline, I would, my colleague would know where I'm going. I'd write down the address and the details, try to go with someone else first. If I can't, then I go on my own, obviously. A colleague might ring me in the first 3 minutes or 10 minutes. And then there'll be a code that I'll say, it's on my desk, in the red folder. That would mean everything's okay. If I say blue folder or yellow, it might mean actually, I'm a bit worried. So there's a code there sometimes in that sense. And by you doing the home visit, you don't have to go. So as a social worker, my objective would be to go in the home and actually see how the state of the home, etc., food, bedding, etc. But I know as teacher, that's not your remit. Your remit would be, how are you? and then you'd go in. If they invite you in, you're picking up signs of, for example, can you smell drugs, cannabis, alcohol? Is the house in a good state, or is it too perfect? Is it too that you'd worry about controlling relation? You know, there's lots of elements there that you've got to be thinking of. Are the curtains drawn? Is someone in a very dark mood, or are they just tired? Or, you know, what's the motivation like? All of those things. So you've got to think about all these little things and what you're looking out for, from any signs of you know, drug taking to anything. So, but again, also some parents might be semi-naked. You've got to be thinking of, you know, you're safeguarding yourself. As far as they might answer the door in their underpants. You understand what I mean? Because you do get very, you know, so, and you know, you've got to think about then them making accusations about yourself. So it's really complex, the whole home visit. It's not as easy and as pretty as people are saying, as far as, oh, it's nice and jolly. It is in a fantasy way, of obviously we'd like it to be, but believe me, there's so many complications along the way that we need to ensure that we keep everyone's.
I wonder how many schools actually have a policy for visits. I bet there's not many that have something written down where they've agreed it and they've passed it by their local safeguarding board and said,
yep. The MASH teams, but also who knows where the person's going. You know, it's really, I remember it used to actually get on my nerves a bit, but I can understand why we had to do it. So when you're leaving the office or visit, you write down in a book, expect what time you're going there for, you know, what time you're going, how long you expected to stay, and what the purpose of the visit was. You know, is it initial home visit? Or is it an unexpected visit, you know, unannounced? How we used to do that sometimes on plans, etc. Or actually, was it a casual visit, kind of catching up visit? And then who you're there to see? The child, the parent, and your mobile number and the address of the person you're visiting, the people, you know, the names and details. Because sometimes, if you can't get, so for example, there have been, unfortunately, sorry about this, there has been people who have been killed in home visits. We know social workers, police officers, correct? We know in the kind of history of child protection, there's been social workers on home visits who've been killed, right? So what we're saying there is, potentially, if you don't hear from your colleague who's done the home visit, where do you start? You know, you might have the address, but what are the name of the people in the home? What's their date? You might not know their date of birth. Do you understand? They might have just moved there. You don't know. So it's really important, the detail behind facts of safeguarding your colleague, safeguarding, you know.
And I think you're right, is that it does, it sounds like we're trying to help and solve help the child, but sometimes we do have to think of our own safety, and we don't always think about it like that. As a teacher, we don't always think about the worst case scenario. I mean, we do, but not worst case scenario for us. It's worst case scenario for the child.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a valid point.
And I've actually done, I think when I was doing my degree, we did a whole module on assessments and home visits. So I've done like some serious training. You know, all of the dynamics of that, as well as on, you know, top-up training throughout my career about home visit, loan working, safe for all those things. That is automatic for me in what I'm doing. Where for you guys, your teachers, your educators, you did, you know, you did classroom management, didn't you? You did your specialisms. You didn't do the home visit.
No, we did not.
And I wouldn't expect you to.
No, that's really interesting. I think so. My takeaway comments, my morals are: A, is to make sure you've got a policy. B, to have a phone call beforehand to social services just to say you're going to be doing this. C, always go with someone else if you can. And then D, have a definite, clear documentation of what's, why, where, how, when, all of those kind of points, if you really feel you need to do it.
Absolutely. And also potential training. I say training as in, right now, I know that there's a need at the moment for, I think, schools to be reminded. I wouldn't even jump to training on home visits, because actually, should you be doing home visits? It's a bit like, and the press doesn't help. Maybe last time when you had that teachers doing home visits with their rucksacks and delivering food. So people think that teachers would do that. Actually, that's a few, handful, you know. So I think, mixed messages we're getting. I think we just need to rewind and look at their job descriptions and their roles, actually, about your schools. We're social care, you've got the police, you've got community safety, you've got lots of other people who could be doing similar things like welfare calls, police calls, etc. So I think we just need to stick to what you can do as far as your remit of what you're doing with education.
I like that. Thank you.
No problem. Lovely.